And one of them, I believe, is, this conspiracy over the recent processing plant fires. And I'm just going to read from this article real quick. Now, who's heard about this? Okay, a few hands. So it's not too widespread here. And the way I'm going to make this more, because I know when I read articles, I lose you. And maybe to help, so I'm going to do this in my Alex voice. All right? Because you might not believe it because of this. It's not alternative news media here, folks. This is why I brought my water bottle with me, because this is hard to do. But I'm going to do it in my Alex voice because you might be more prone to believe what I'm telling you if you hear it from Alex himself. If Alex Jones read this same article on his show, a lot of people would believe it because it came from Alex Jones. So we see, let me just begin reading. A salad packaging plant in Salinas, California is destroyed in a massive fire, while at almost the exact time an onion processing plant in Texas is engulfed in flames. Planes nosedive into the heart of food processing plants in Georgia and Idaho. A warehouse with 50,000 pounds of food burns, as well as an animal feed mill, a cereal processing plant, and a meat packing plant. All of them alit, taking America's precious food supply with them. Is it mere coincidence? Just some bad things happening at the same time? Or is it a sinister plot to starve the United States and cull the herd of useless eaters? That's such a great line. Whoever wrote this is genius. To be clear, the fires are real. The salad packaging plant in California was a major processing facility of Taylor Farms, and it burned to ashes on April 13th. And light planes did crash into areas near food processing plants in Georgia and Idaho. An animal feed mill burned in Louisiana in January, and a food bank attached to a church in Arizona went up in flames in March. So that was one of these food processing plants that these guys on Twitter and Fox News, Tucker Carlson, reported as these 18 plants. But one of them was literally a food bank attached to a church in Arizona. That's a food processing plant, folks. You gonna see why maybe you shouldn't just, give heed to all words that are spoken? I don't know when a food bank became a food processing plant, but given both the number of fires and the critical nature of the food processing industry, it is not hard to understand why some people believed that these couldn't have been coincidental. Someone had to be behind them. It was Pinky in the brain. That they had to rule the world. And whoever it was probably had a bad reason for doing it. Like many of these other theories, the lists tend to have the same core of incidents, but in very varying details. Some claim 16 different plants, such as the April 24th post on the popular Christian prepping site, the Economic Collapse blog. That sounds like a blog I want to subscribe to. That sounds like a blog that's just going to bring peace and joy into my life. That's going to help me just to live a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. I can tell that if I read that site, the Economic Collapse blog, that I'm probably going to be able to sleep easy at night. I'm probably going to be thinking about, how I can serve God. When I'm reading a blog called the Economic Collapse blog, it's a whole blog about the impending economic collapse. And I went and looked at the site, and lo and behold, it was buy our water filtration system. Get the best iodine on the market. Protect your hypothalamus or whatever. It's just, all these ads for all these prepping things. And that's a big lesson. This is what you should always keep in the back of your mind when you're taking information. Consider the source. Even Paul told us that in the Bible. He said that, it should be like the Bereans, right? Who were more noble because they searched the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so. They didn't even take Paul at his word. They said, okay, we're hearing what you're saying, Paul. Let's confirm what we've heard with a source of truth. They fact-checked Paul.